We'd like to welcome you back to segment 3. Thanks again to our previous guests. You guys got to make sure that you're listening to this. Check out the video. Visit us at GrokTALK.com and spend some time there. Read what we write, because that sort of leads right into the weekly podcast. So you get some context on what we've been doing and where we're going to go. Now, we'd like to bring our next guest in, a repeating guest whom we love to have here, Dr. Julianne Cooper from Liberty Harbor Academy, whose microphone isn't on yet. There we go.
Thank you.
Hey,
now it's on.
new board. I'm still getting the hang of it. How you doing?
Thanks for having me back.
Good. Common Core is a huge subject lately.
Yes, been fighting it now for nearly a year. I've been talking about this and fighting it. Finally, people are beginning to listen.
It is, I know up in Alton they did a thing.
Yes.
We put all the video on. I think Nashua School Board just took the grant and accepted.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I know Manchester's been fighting it left and right.
Yep, I've been to virtually every one of the
Yep,
meetings.
and then Bedford is having a meeting.
Yes.
We just talked about it earlier, the director of education or whatever for Hampshire.
And then just last week, the Cornerstone did the special forum at St. Anselm.
It is interesting to see the amount of attention that's got. It's a good thing. A lot of this stuff kind of just slides under the radar, and people are just like, huh?
Right.
But at least in New Hampshire, anyway, it appears to be getting a lot of attention. And Iowa, we hopefully will be able to bring Shane Vanderhart in, who wants to talk to Iowa. As you can see, Skip shaking his head because something's wrong with their phones. But anyway, let's proceed with you since you're here.
And I really want to talk just a little bit about some of the content that we've been seeing that is developing for Common Core, has been developed for Common Core. And I think people need to know that first of all, Common Core sounds really good. Oh, good, everybody's going to have the same core values, and there's this core information that everybody will have, and it's just not true. It is so biased and political, and I wanted to start with a little test that seventh graders in Florida actually took a sort of pre-test for the pre-AP civics class. And this was at Storm Grove Middle School in Indian River County, Florida. And the test is called, "What kind of party animal are you?" 7th graders, just keep in mind this is 7th graders. And the information at the top says, take this quiz to get a sense of which party, the Republican or the Democrat, is the better fit for you. Remember, you do not have to pick a party. You may remain independent. You may also change your party. So the idea of this little civics quiz is to find out whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. I want you to pay really close attention to how these questions are worded. Question number 1. I would support a government increase of my taxes if the money were used to pay for expanded health and social programs. You're supposed to answer agree or disagree. Question number 2. I think the government should impose stricter limits on access to guns. Question number 3. I believe organized prayer should be kept out of schools. Having students pray is a violation of the First Amendment in the U.S. Constitution.
Lovely.
Not only are the students being asked to answer yes or no to this, but the information in the question is wrong.
It's very leading. It's programming. Yeah.
Question number 4. I would support drilling for oil in a wildlife refuge to help reduce America's dependence on foreign oil.
In a wildlife.
Yes.
As if there was no other choice.
That's the only place you can, yes. I believe that looking out for U.S. interests abroad must come first, even if it means the U.S. takes actions without the approval of the United Nations or its allies.
Well, that one's not so bad.
Yes, but are we supporting Obama in Syria or Bush in Afghanistan?
Right. I believe if you have nothing to hide, there's no reason to worry about government surveillance.
Whatever that was, I can hear it.
Hear what?
Oh, your headset was on, and you took it off, and you picked it up, and I'm like, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead.
Okay, let me read question number 6 again.
Yes.
I believe if you have nothing to hide, there's no reason to worry about government surveillance. It would not bother me if my government listened in on my personal phone calls as long as the surveillance was helping to catch terrorists.
Are there more questions like this?
Uh-huh.
Aye.
This is 7th graders.
And you're a Democrat if you're stupid enough to fall for all of those?
Well, basically you end up a Democrat almost
By-
by default, which is what Common Core is attempting to do, is to now have the children go home and say, I'm a Democrat. And tell their parents that they took a quiz and they're a Democrat even if the parents are Republican.
And I'm sitting here going, all right, did they have a lesson beforehand that talks about the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all that other stuff?
You know that.
And now they're being compared
No.
to that.
No, do you know that there was a young man in school for handing out copies of the Constitution?
Oh yes, on Constitution Day at a public university,
Right.
community college,
Right,
this past week.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
He had to go to the free speech area and had to register in advance to be able to put out this free speech.
so this is starting 7th grade now. We're getting it down to
Remind me
7th.
again, age 11?
11.
10? Yeah.
I have material from 3rd grade classes, English, 3rd grade English class, where the students are being asked to identify emotional words versus rational words. And they get the questions correct if they're able to choose the emotional words. So they are being told in this lesson that in order to persuade people to do things, you need to use emotional words and you need to appeal to their emotion. The next lesson after this is to go home and convince your parents of something that they give you some examples of things to go practice on your parents to persuade them to do what you want to do.
Yeah,
These are-
persuasive writing.
These are 3rd graders learning how to manipulate other people
Oh yeah.
using emotional
Well,
language.
that's happening right now in California.
Yeah,
California got a grant to promote Obamacare. Training was given to the teachers in high school to teach their students, who are among the worst in the country now,
Right.
as it is, to go persuade them to sign up for Obamacare. Now, is this what our schools are supposed to do?
no,
That
No.
basically they are co-opting the students
Yes.
to be government agents.
Yes.
Now, I don't care whether they're to be Republican agents or Democrat agents.
No.
This is wrong completely from the start.
yes, and they're also recruiting. I have another workbook page about how there is nothing wrong with genetically modified meat and how to persuade your parents that there's nothing wrong with it in the workbook, and that's for 8th graders. So it's the manipulation, political manipulation that is built in to every level of Common Core that I have looked at is phenomenal. And the teacher is the authority, and we are training these kids that the right answer comes from the authority. So if you are, parents, by the way, are no longer authorities
Oh, we knew that.
because they don't know anything.
Well, they've
So-
been doing that
Yes,
for
years.
decades.
Yes, yes. Well, this is the culmination of
You
the
can
process.
teach my kids science, I don't know, but you can't teach them reality and morality, I don't know.
Well, you look at it, that they're bringing them in for breakfast, they serve them lunch, they serve them dinner, they serve them through
Right.
all vacations, they provide health clinics, they can take them without parental notification for abortions.
Right.
I mean, on and on and on and on. It's like, why bother having kids? They're basically doing, in an incremental, slow fashion, what all totalitarian
Oh,
regimes
yeah.
have done for years and years
And
and
this
years.
is why Russia has to pay people to have children now.
Right,
Yeah.
and by the way, that was one of the themes that ran through Glenn Beck's book about Agenda 21, is that people were so miserable and the state took their kids earlier and earlier that they weren't interested in having kids because they couldn't stand the wrench of giving them up.
Yeah, I mean,
And effectively, you're giving them up at age 5 now.
yeah, and Obama himself has said, I want the kids at age 4.
Right.
Even though Head Start has been proven to be a complete
Complete
waste of
disaster,
time,
right.
doesn't really help, and in some cases hurts,
Yes.
they want the government control of the kids.
Right.
Yeah, best writing on that topic by Lisa Snell of Reason Foundation. She has researched not Common Core, Head Start inside and out, and she's got the goods on how and why it doesn't work.
Well, it's. I'll just read you question 7, just to go back.
Oh, goody.
Oh yeah, we're already outraged. Go for it.
Yeah, raise the blood pressure.
Question 7. I believe the government should relax regulations on immigration and find a way for law-abiding illegal immigrants.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, God.
At that point, little Johnny stands up and
Really?
asks the teacher, does she know what an oxymoron
Yes.
is?
Really,
And might she be one?
Really smart person had
Yes.
to have written that
Yes.
question.
A law for law-abiding illegal immigrants to stay in the U.S. legally and pay taxes. Yes.
You know,
Law
over and over
abiding.
again, we have known that the only way that America could be lost to socialism was to unhook it from its traditional
Yes.
moorings. And this, I mean, oh
This,
my gosh.
the children were told that they had to do this test in the classroom. They were not allowed to take it out of the classroom.
Ooh.
So they couldn't take it home, and one little boy took it home, which is how we have it. And he's asked not to have his name, his family asked not to have his name.
Gee, I wonder why.
Can you send that to us for posting?
Yes, sure. I'll send it. I'll send it right as soon as we finish here.
Yeah.
Just mail it to Skip at Granite Rock.
Yes.
Uh,
So it's parents in Florida now are in an uproar over it, but this is what's happening. We get children at Liberty Harbor, and especially if they have come from public school. We don't find this from homeschoolers, but from public school, the first thing they say when you give them an assignment is, "What do you want me to do?" Well, how do you want me to answer that? But you didn't give me in the lecture what the answer is. They are already programmed to look for the authority to answer the question for them. I mean, our job at Liberty Harbor is to turn these kids into self-confident authorities.
real critical thinking.
Right, to go find answers and discuss, look at all the possibilities.
We don't have that in Merrimack, but I can tell you right now, like my kids bring their homework home and they'll have a paper that they have to answer questions where they just like fill in the blank or
Right.
whatever. And all the answers are in the paragraph at the top of the page.
Right,
And they don't even read the paragraph. I'm like, it's all right there. Just
Right.
read the paragraph. And they do ask me. They ask me questions, and I give them extra background, and I try to fill them in. Like my daughter brought something home about James Madison, and she had to do this thing, and I tried to give her extra details that weren't
Right.
there, and to tell her, I go, you know what Google is, right? Because you can go look up everything in the world
right.
and see a couple different sources and compare them and figure this all out yourself. You can do that. You know how. I've seen you do it.
But they're not going to get the grade
No.
if they don't give the teacher what the teacher tells them the
Correct.
teacher wants them to give.
Mhm.
Yep.
So they've learned that they will fail if they don't do what the authority tells them. And this is all a game in transferring authority,
Hmm.
as well as indoctrination.
Oh, well, yeah, we've been seeing that for years and
Yes.
years and years. I remember back when my kids were in high school.
The
And,
problem, yeah.
I went to look at their homework. Now, my major was in biology. And I'm reading their bio book going, really? And I'm looking at the questions for the homework going, okay. And I'm starting to test my kids on this stuff. But Dad, that's not what they want.
Right.
And I'm going, what? I mean, this is science. This is not sociology or English where you can shade or history, or current events where you can shade that kind of stuff. I mean, in science and in engineering and in math, well, math's another story.
Oh, let me tell you about the math homework my dean's daughter brought home, 4th grade.
Oh yeah, social justice via math.
And across the top of the book, Common Core compliant. She's in a diocesan Catholic school. And they have bought the Common Core compliant materials, which it turns out they have to do if they take any government money.
Mhm.
Title I, any of them. If they have any of it, they have
But
to
does
do
that prohibit them from teaching the kids the truth on the side?
No.
Discussion period. What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah. But she brings home this math homework. I opened it to about page 10. And the question is, Johnny has 15 flowers in a bouquet of flowers, and he has 4 vases. How many flowers can he put in the vases? Okay.
All.
But I mean, you can figure out how you can do that. You're not supposed to do that. No numbers. You're supposed to draw pictures. So you draw pictures to show how you would do this. And you have to have 3 different alternatives to how this could be done.
How many ways can we blow up a rocket ship?
Okay, but no math in that show. Now,
It's art.
prior to the Greeks developing abstract reasoning, that's how everybody did it. They had little sticks of a certain length and they
Yeah.
put them down together. It had to be done physically.
Yeah.
Cave painting. This is
And
cave
now we're
painting.
going back to it. So,
Well, I thought you were going to say they could only put 3 in each vase because anything other would be unfair.
right. that might be one of the answers that they get to give on this thing. And another thing
And Johnny
is,
keeps 3 for
The evil Republican has 12 flowers. How
Right,
would you
right,
redistribute
Yeah,
them?
and little Johnny keeps 3 for himself
Right.
because he likes them.
yes. There's a book that is one of the Common Core books called The Americas. It's a history book. And in this discussion of the amendments to the Constitution, it actually changes the wording of the amendments. It changes the wording of the Second Amendment to read, "You are allowed to bear arms." It drops the word "keep."
Well, there was another
And
one.
then explains it.
Then there was another one where bear arms in a state militia.
Mhm.
It was that came across just a little bit.
Yes, that's part of the, so they're literally changing the wording. And nobody reads, I mean, the deal is, nobody reads the Constitution anyway, right? So nobody's going to really know, and the authority is telling us what is there. When I was at the university level teaching, I had a student face me down over whether or not the Christianity or using prayer or anything was allowed. And she made it very clear that the Constitution said you cannot have any discussion of religion in the schools or in any public place. I said, where are you getting this? She said, that's in the Constitution. So I handed her my pocket Constitution. I said, look it up. I want you to show me where it is. And it was one of those, I wish you could see this, but she sits there like this, looks kind of smirky, and then does staring at it in disbelief. And then she said, it doesn't say that. And
Go ahead, demonstrate how she was looking.
well, she looks at the...
Because we do have the camera going.
Yeah, oh, okay. So she
Yeah.
looks at it and goes... Dr. Cooper, it doesn't say that. No, it doesn't. And I said, where did you get the idea that that's what it said? She said, my political science teacher told me. So I went to the political science teacher and said, are these kids reading the Constitution? And he said, oh, no, it's too difficult. I interpret it for them.
It's written for farmers and they can't read it.
You gotta be kidding. So I started handing it out in my Western Civ classes. I mean, somebody has to tell these kids.
You know, and Steve has it exactly right. Every single word was chosen especially to mean a specific thing. in
Right.
every single clause of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. But it was right. It was not so much that you would have to, you could only read it after you've read, lots of other philosophical thinkers and this treatise and that treatise. It was for, at that time, a fairly well-read populace that
Right.
worked out in the field all the time. I mean, that was the whole idea between the citizen politician. Put your farm implements down, go do your duty, knowing
Right.
what the base philosophy was, and after some amount of time, you go back and pick up the farm implements
Right.
again. I'm just sitting here. Yeah, maybe a third grader isn't going to help it or be able to understand it, but at the
daughter
university,
yes. These are 18, 19, 20-year-olds. It's too hard for them. Of course, this is the same teacher who told me that they couldn't read Machiavelli, they couldn't read John Locke, they couldn't, and he said, I've been teaching there for 10 years by this point, and he said, they can't read this stuff. I said, they've been reading it in my class ever since I've been here.
And let us not forget that in the 18th century, kids who got maybe just a few years education before
Right.
hitting those fields were able to read those
Right.
those very works which the founders drew from to write
Right.
our Constitution.
Right.
yeah. I mean, we have certainly dumbed down the level of education in this
Well,
country.
we have dumbed down the expectation too.
Right.
Well-
Because the kids come to Liberty Harbor, and one of the first things they read's the Iliad. At least 50% of my incoming class looked at me and said, this is too hard to read. So I said, okay, at 3 o'clock we're all going to get together, we're going to read it out loud. We don't need to be read to out. Oh yes, you do, because that helps.
Yeah.
If you read it out loud to yourself, it helps.
Yeah.
So, and then they all say, oh, well, that's not so hard. No, but they've been told that anything that is not watered down and made into high school level.
They want anything that the government doesn't feed you to be too hard to comprehend.
Right, and
so
they're told that.
So they won't go and look at the original references. They won't go and look at the source material.
Right.
And as a result, they'll never be able to understand how our civilization was founded.
And I had advisors at the university telling my students that were wanting to take my classes, not to take Cooper's classes because they were too hard and you won't be able to do well in them. So you won't keep your grade point up, and you might not keep your scholarship if you don't keep your grade point average up. And these kids would come in and say, Dr. Cooper, my advisor says not to take your class because it's too hard. It's because you're too hard. And I said, what does that say about you? What does that advisor think of you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're too dumb?
I mean, I look at what
And they'd say, wait, no, I'm signing up.
I mean, part of it has been done. Every single industry or area of venture has its own priesthood type words.
Right.
I mean, in the computer industry, we have a whole slew of them.
Right. But you
And
can look them up.
You can look them up, but I'll tell you, it's difficult to switch from one area within the computer industry to another because you have a whole new vocabulary that you have to
Well,
learn.
imagine being my wife as I switch jobs as the technology advances.
Yeah.
I start all over with a new bunch of TLAs.
The phrase for it is
what? Three-letter acronyms.
Yes.
in social media they call it institutional jargon, and
Yes.
you're supposed to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah. And I look at, in specifics here with the Constitution, I feel that the legal profession has so bound it up that there's so many, they've parsed it like fairy dust at some point, where it's a case of, it's almost meant to be too hard for you. They
Yes.
want to say only a lawyer should be able to do this. And most of us in the grassroots look at the Constitution and go, but it's plainly worded here.
Right.
This isn't that hard
Do you
to
know-
understand.
Do you know
The lawyers
Puritans-
of the day wanted the law to be understandable.
Yeah.
Do you know that the Puritans would not allow lawyers in the Massachusetts Bay Colony? And if a lawyer showed up, they put him right back on the next boat to England and sent them back. Because, yes, because they're the ones who caused the problems.
in a
By
lot of cases.
convincing people that they should go to court.
Yeah, I mean, we are an overly litigious society, no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Yes.
But this example is just,
This is just one.
well, let me ask you this. Is it just one? Does this one just happen to pop out? or is this something that is just
I have,
absolutely? It's like when termites invade your house, you're riddled with it.
yes, it's riddled. And everything that I have looked at. So I had from Alton, and we have a student from Alton, and he was taking a test in class. And during this discussion on Common Core in Alton School Board, the mother said, "Is there any testing, any Common Core testing going on in the schools already?" Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No Common Core testing. Absolutely not. She said, "I'm going to ask you again. Is there any Common Core testing going on in the schools?" No. So she threw up on the projector. Her son had taken a picture of the test he was given in school with his cell phone, and at the top it said Common Core compliant across the top of the test. So,
Oops.
So what was the response then?
well, then they finally admitted that they were just trying some things out, seeing how they worked.
Oh, yeah.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
They lied.
Yeah.
Did anybody say you lied then?
Yes, I think they did.
And what was the response to
I
that?
don't know.
And did the son get suspended? That's the usual reaction.
I don't know. But it's,
Bearcats show up at his house.
Yeah,
Yes.
don't. Well, I'm expecting them at my house
but
any
this
time for the
is,
stuff
I mean,
write.
if you're going to allow the kids to have their cell phones in class,
Yeah.
then they're going to do stuff. People
Yeah.
are going to, I mean, and they do.
Hey, I got pictures sent to me of some Obama posters in somebody's high school classroom, and boy, what a stink that started.
Oh, I was in a classroom. I was one of the judges for the Miss Teen New Hampshire, and I was in a classroom in the school where that's held, and there were Obama posters everywhere.
My major complaint was that there were no other posters.
No, there
for-
weren't, no.
Just, and that was my biggest
Yeah.
complaint.
in the school,
Including a
yeah.
big,
All right, there you go. We're gonna go to our next segment. We don't know if we're gonna be able to get a hold of Shane because we're having technical difficulties. But Dr. Cooper's here, so we'll just keep going.
We
with
got
her.
lots to talk about.
So
Yes.
we'll be right back. This is GrokTALK.
let me find some of this other stuff that I have here.
You know, in the school lobby, you'd expect to see. In the school lobby, you'd expect to see pictures, probably of the president and vice president. Since we don't have royalty, that shouldn't include their first ladies. The governor, maybe with his wife, or lieutenant governor, depending on the state structure, and a couple other key players in the food chain, like the mayor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You do not expect to find posters advertising
No.
said political figures in the classroom.
What's the,
Yeah, I'm getting a bounce back.
Has it disappeared again?
The reason why I'm
Email
calling
skip@granitegrok.com is a good place.
last week, and we checked it out and everything was working, but now I can't seem to get the phone lines to work. So I tried to give you a
I've
heads
got it
up.
all in caps.
That heads up. I'm gonna try to call you this
Let me take a peeky at the board here. Is it that he can't get the audio from the phone to the board?
He wasn't getting a dial tone or something. You'll have to. I don't know what the problem was.
Well, that's
It isn't easy to even get a dial tone, so
So that's a phone line problem.
we haven't even gotten to the board yet. You'll have to ask him. I think he's talking to Shane.
Right, this is
Alright,
your
thanks,
out
Jay.
line, isn't it?
Yeah, this would be from the board out.
No. Right, but
This is this.
It's
These are
not even the
phones.
board at this point.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I can't even get a call out.
right. So this is fading the phone in. You
Yes.
turn them on and fade them in, just like these.
Well, I would just leave them up and turn them on. I don't
Yeah.
really need to fade phones, but. So he hasn't. We haven't even gotten out of there into here yet. Wait,
But now
Shane.
it's ringing.
Oh, good.
Shane? Shane? Are you there?
I'm not even.
Shane? Yeah, can you hear him? Shane?
No, I can only hear what I'm doing.
Oh.
That's gonna go boring.
Anything?
Okay.
Actually, you'd have to turn line 1 on.
Huh?
Turn line 1 on.
Gonna turn it on.
Wait, but isn't he gonna feed through here?
No, do line 1. Turn it on. Shane?
I can
Oh.
hear him.
Okay, we got you. Okay, hold on, Shane. We'll be coming back in just a moment.
You're gonna hear in the middle of that. Yep.
I think there's a preview button as well.
There is, but I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, you got.
And we just
yeah.
turned him on and yupped our way into. All right, we're coming back. All right, we're back, and I'm getting some kind of weird echoey feedback thing here. Do you hear that?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I think I got to turn the. We have Shane Vanderhart on the phone. Shane, are you there? Hey, okay, we're gonna talk and mess around with this because we're getting a little new board, new situation. Things sound a little odd on our end, so we're just gonna. Yes, you are. Skip's gonna introduce you while I fiddle the knobs.
Yes, I want to say thank you for coming on the show today, Shane. Shane Vanderhart is somebody that we met a couple of years ago during the last presidential campaign season. He lives in Iowa. He is the proprietor of Caffeinated Thoughts and a bunch of other caffeinated type blogs. He's also a member of the American Project Institute, correct? Okay, sorry I messed that up. But he is an astute person of politics out in Iowa. He kind of does out there what we do here in New Hampshire. So once again, we're going to try to match up and talk politics with Shane along with other current events as we go along. But we're also, we're trying to build a bridge across the country, because what happens in Iowa is going to affect what happens here in New Hampshire and vice versa. So Shane, I want to say thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for putting up with us as we're trying to eliminate the gremlins out of our new equipment. So tell us, what's going on in Iowa? Now, who is leaving the Senate at your end?
GrokTV.